All right, here we go. I'm ready. Yeah. All right, so Jay Swiss, man, thank you for subscribing to the Twitch account for over 14 months. Much appreciated, bro. That is welcomed. It's free to subscribe if you have Amazon Prime, as you know. And so thank you if you are doing that way, which I think you are. But we got to get to this Saudi Arabia thing first off. Saudi Arabia, escaping Saudi Arabia. So much information has been collected by me over the last few days from sources, from places. Did you just bring me donuts?
Didn't pick them up to his room, but there was one for you.
Cool, I got a donut. Yay. I'm going to eat this donut. So I've studied everything with a fine-tooth comb in my brain. And who wouldn't want to leave a place where a guy is wearing a kitchen table? I'm just kidding. But no, so here's what we know. We know a lot, to be honest. We really do know a lot now. We're starting to be able to sift through all the stuff. I'm not somebody who knows everything because I have all these sources. That's not what I'm like. That's more like the Dave Meltzers and the other people like that. Now, I do have a few sources in the WWE. You guys know lots of different wrestlers have followed the show and whatever. They're aware of what I do. So only in desperate times, only in certain times do I ever get feedback from people. And it's very strange when I get that. I've even gotten sources that identify themselves as wrestlers, and they're like, you know me, I've watched your show before, you know, here's something that happened that you would know about, here's something that happened or that will happen to prove that I'm real, and here's what I'm telling you now. And then I have to wait till that thing happens that they said would happen, and then I go with their information. So here's what happened in Saudi Arabia. And this is me. This isn't all fact, what I'm about to say, but this is pretty much educated speculation. Educated speculation based on facts, proof, and what people have said, what certain undercard wrestlers have said, what certain undercard wrestlers' families have said, and such. And what they've said, what they've done, and how the planes and everything were chartered. First of all, if you guys want to listen to these full podcasts, they're available on my Patreon, patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. And if you're on Twitch, you're on Patreon, you're getting the link to my website, which is JoeCroninLive.com. JoeCroninLive.com, a new easy link to my live broadcasts that take place privately on Twitch. So just go to JoeCroninLive.com. So yes, so here's what happens. There is some kind of disagreement. Now that is true. There is a disagreement. There absolutely is a disagreement with Vince McMahon and the Saudis. Supposedly, this is where the information, we don't know of what's true here. Supposedly, Vince McMahon did not air some of the first parts of the show locally as it was supposed to, in some kind of protest to the fact that they weren't paid up front or paid the correct amount of money or paid what they'd been owed. And potentially they haven't been paid for the previous show yet either. So they weren't paid for the previous show, and now they're not paid yet for this show, so Vince pulled the plug on the local network. I don't know if I believe all that. I don't believe the specifics of that, but what I do know is there is some kind of disagreement. There is some kind of argument, it would appear, or disagreement. Now, what happens next is it's been, it's always been known that Saudi Arabia, and, if you do something like this to them, they'll do something to you. So it is believed that this malfunction or this whatever happened was pulled off by the prince or by the Saudi government or whatever, to bother the WWE and to essentially hold these guys hostage. Not really. Nobody was hurt. No, nothing like that was ever stated. But there's just people saying things like that. So I wouldn't go that far. But Vince McMahon, after having a disagreement, left Saudi Arabia in his own private jet, left Saudi Arabia, but the wrestlers still there. So that's problem number one. The wrestlers are mad that Vince took off. Mad that Vince left them behind after he himself had some kind of fallout or disagreement with the Saudi Arabian prince or with the Saudi government. So with that being said, it was said by this is now reported by Dave Meltzer and by multiple other people that, well, this is actually being reported by Dave Meltzer, that he spoke with a wrestler who was out there, and the wrestler said that they were pawns in a dick-waving contest. And he used that exact phrase. We were pawns in a dick-waving contest. So there's some kind of disagreement. He holds back the wrestlers. Vince McMahon already leaves, so the wrestlers now feel left behind. For some reason, they're unable to charter a plane or a flight somehow to get the wrestlers to where they need to be, which was dumb anyway that they had to be there that quickly. Then they go ahead and have the most important superstars flown out quickly as possible, leaving behind a lot of the undercard wrestlers and people and crew. So the most angriest people are the undercards or the lower mid-cards or some of the people that weren't deemed as important. So they were left behind completely. So, by the way, Brandon Harbin, thanks for becoming a patron again, $5 patron. What's up, man? So now you have why there was anger, frustration, and confusion in Saudi Arabia. The top guys are the top guys, and they got handled like top guys and taken out like top guys. That's why we probably saw Cesaro, who got flown to, what was it, Ireland or whatever, saying he's not going to make it. But that's where he was flown out. While Cesaro was there making that video, we know that other talents were still in Saudi Arabia. So now it's being, this is being pretty much confirmed that there was some kind of problem, and then the plane malfunctions, which is still conspiracy, that these two things are connected. So we still don't really know, because malfunctions happen all the time on planes. We've all heard of it. Some of us have experienced it. Hey, there's something wrong with the landing gear. Hey, there's an inspection that didn't go right. We need to have engineers come in and take a look. The plane's delayed, or there is no flight now. You have to get a new flight. The plane's going to be grounded. Whatever. We've seen that. But even civilians, we can get tickets and planes and other things to happen. I'm just shocked that the Saudi government couldn't fix the issue. There's also another belief that the disagreement was over the flights, that the malfunction happened on its own, and when Vince McMahon tried to get another plane or tried to get, Saudi Arabia to help, they couldn't do it or they wouldn't do it or whatever the case is, and that made Vince angry, and then he left, leaving the WWE superstars behind. Either way, we have the result of Vince leaving. In my opinion, in my last videos, I said this doesn't seem like a big deal to me because Vince McMahon always leaves talent behind all the time. And it's not that he leaves them behind, it's that he's always on the go. How many times has, the WWE been in New York City and, Vince McMahon and company travel to Connecticut via car? They leave the arena as soon as possible. They get everything done at the end. And, an hour to 2 hours after the show, Vince is gone in a car to Connecticut to start working on something else for WWE. And there's still superstars leaving the arena or at the hotels or whatever. Vince is just like that. So this isn't out of character. But the problem is apparently that, Vince did have some kind of disagreement in Saudi Arabia. And they had some kind of problem. And Vince poked the bear. The Saudis poked the bear. It turned into a dick-waving contest, as somebody stated. Why would somebody state that? Why would multiple wrestlers say that there was some kind of disagreement or there's some kind of prodding or some kind of, fuck you back going on in Saudi Arabia? So a lot of these wrestlers really see it as Vince poked the bear back. They poked at each other. Vince fired back. And now because of it, all the wrestlers are stuck in Saudi Arabia. So that prompted, like I said, a WWE talent to say, we were pawns in a dick-waving contest. So, to me, after hearing some of these testimonials from some of the people that were there, getting some of this unverified, unsolicited, anonymous information that I've got, and based on the actual words stated by mid-card and lower mid-card wrestlers over there, it seems like something happened. We just can't really verify if the plane thing had anything, was 100% to do with it, but the wrestlers over there feel like it was. So that's the only thing I really can say is the wrestlers feel that this is connected. So, and they feel that they were like being held. Even Randy Orton retweeted something like that, you know? But, you know, Randy Orton is a guy who, when, you know, he was over in the military for the soldiers in Iraq, Randy Orton is the guy who was pacing around in the back going, "Can we just get the fuck out of here?" A long time ago, I had a few soldiers on my show as co-hosts. They were veterans in Iraq, and they told us about the WWE coming out there, how nice everybody was, and how great the WWE was. But Randy Orton, towards the end of the time there, was becoming annoyed and nervous, or like anxious. And while the other wrestlers were still shaking hands and saying hi, Randy Orton could be heard pacing around in a different room, going, "Can we just get the fuck out of here?" So, and that was verified by those soldiers. So we know Randy Orton doesn't like being away for too long. And I don't blame him. I'd be like, "Get me out of here," you know? I don't know if I'd do it to the Iraqi soldiers, or the American soldiers in Iraq, but you know, that's Randy Orton, man. He's crazy. But yeah, listen to the rest of this on Patreon. This is Not Enough Marks, episode 3. For the people on YouTube, hearing a clip, come on over to hear the whole episode. For everybody else, stick around. It's still going on. All right. So we also have